You've heard this saying a million times, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It feels, well, it feels kind of obvious, simple. But what if I told you that this one little sentence is part of a massive story? A story that goes back 4,000 years, that touches almost every culture on Earth, and has been debated by some of the smartest people in history. Yeah, there's way more to it than you think.
And this isn't some modern self-help quote. We're kicking things off more than 2,000 years ago with the Jewish sage Hillel the Elder. The story goes, someone challenged him to explain the entire Torah, the core of Jewish scripture, while standing on one foot, and that was his answer. Powerful, right? This is the whole thing, he says. Everything else is just commentary. That sets the stage perfectly for what we're about to get into.
So let's just break it down. At its heart, the Golden Rule is all about reciprocity, and it really comes in two main flavors. You've got the positive version, which is a call to action, do unto others, and then there's the negative version, which is about restraint, do not do to others. They're really just two sides of the same incredible coin.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at how this one idea became such a big deal. Then, we're going to jump in a time machine and see just how ancient and widespread this thing really is. After that, we'll ask the tough questions. Is it actually a perfect rule? And finally, we'll bring it all back to today and see why it still matters so much.
So, how did this happen? How did this one rule get so famous that it became the ethical foundation for literally billions of people? It feels like it's just always been there, right? A piece of timeless wisdom. But you know, the story of how it even got its name is actually way more recent than you'd probably guess.
Yeah, get this. The name Golden Rule, it isn't ancient at all. That phrase only really took off in the 1600s. It was English Anglican preachers who started calling it that. Why? Because they saw it as the supreme, most valuable, the golden standard for how to live. Okay, and this is where the story gets really mind-blowing. The Golden Rule isn't something one culture came up with and then taught to everyone else. No way. It's an idea that humanity seems to have stumbled upon again and again and again, independently, all over the planet. I mean, just look at this. We're talking 4,000 years ago in ancient Egypt. Then, in this amazing historical flashpoint between 600 and 400 BCE, it just pops up everywhere, with Thales in Greece, with Confucius in China, in the Mahabharata in India. These cultures were not emailing each other. It's almost like this ethical code is hardwired into the human experience itself.
And this universal idea quickly became a pillar for the world's great religions. In Buddhism, for example, it's a super clear call to empathy, a cornerstone of their entire ethic of not causing harm.
And in Christianity, Jesus delivers the famous positive, active version in the Sermon on the Mount. It's not just don't hurt people, it's actively do good. And he frames it as the single idea that sums up all of Scripture.
And in Islam, this teaching from a hadith frames the rule as a fundamental test of your faith. It's not just a nice piece of advice. It suggests you can't be a true believer until you genuinely want for others what you want for yourself.
I mean, the sheer scope of it is just staggering. We find it in Jainism, Zoroastrianism, Sikhism, the Baha'i faith, even in secular philosophies like humanism. It really is one of the most shared ideas our species has ever had.
But is it perfect? You knew there was a but coming, right? For all its fame, the rule has faced some really smart and tough challenges over the years. Is it really a flawless guide for every single situation? Let's poke some holes in it.
So let's really put it on the spot. I want you to think for a second. Can you come up with a situation where actually following the Golden Rule might lead to a less than golden outcome?
Well, you can always count on the playwright George Bernard Shaw to find the perfect witty flaw. He basically said, what if I love polka music? And following the Golden Rule, I blasted at 3 a.m. for my neighbor because, hey, I'm just treating them how I'd want to be treated. Shaw brilliantly points out that the rule assumes we all want the same things, and we just don't.
And Shaw's critique actually led to this really important evolution of the idea. People developed what's now often called the platinum rule. See the difference? The focus shifts from what you want to trying to understand what they want. It's a small but absolutely crucial change from projection to genuine empathy.
And it wasn't just playwrights picking it apart. The philosophical heavyweight Immanuel Kant had a big problem with it too. He argued that a criminal standing before a judge could say, hey, you wouldn't want to go to jail, so based on the Golden Rule, you should let me go. The rule, in its simplest form, doesn't really have a good answer for things like justice or fairness or what's good for society as a whole.
So if it's got these philosophical weak spots, why do we still talk about it? Why is it still held up as this amazing idea? Well, because despite the critiques, its power as a practical tool for building a better, more peaceful world is just undeniable.
I mean, think about it. The golden rule is all around us today. A lot of people argue that it's the ethical engine behind the entire modern concept of human rights. It was the one principle that the 1993 Parliament of the World's Religions could all agree on to find common ground. Presidents from JFK to Obama have used it to argue for civil rights and diplomacy, and it's still one of the most powerful arguments there is for pacifism and nonviolence.
Which leaves us with this one final massive question. A question that really gets to the heart of what it means to be human. We have this profound, simple, nearly universal code that has been with us for thousands of years. It's simple enough for a kid to understand. So why is it still so incredibly hard to actually live by it? Now that's something worth thinking about.